They say if you really want to know what you're made of, go work an oil rig. The kind of place where the temperature pushes 110 in the shade. Where your skin is always gritty, your ears hum from the machinery, and diesel clings to your clothes no matter how many showers you take. You wake up after 6 hours of sleep and your nails still smell like crude. But you don't complain. Because you know exactly why you're there. My name's Chris. I'm 41, and I've been working rotation shifts out in West Texas for the past 8 years, closer to the New Mexico border than any real town. Out there, the horizon's yellow, the sky's sun-bleached, and there's nothing but scrubland, pump jacks, and guys like me. We used to joke, there are only 2 directions out here, up the pipe or down to the bunk. And we weren't wrong. 16-hour shifts. 12 men on the platform. Some days the heat melts the glue off your boots. Other days, the wind hits your face like sandpaper. Your fingers stop bending after 10 hours. But I never once complained. Because Lily was waiting for me back home in Midland. We'd been together 7 years. No kids yet, not because we didn't want them, but because we were saving up. Trying to do it right. Buy a house. Pay down the mortgage. Build something solid before bringing a child into a rental where the outlet sparked if you breathed wrong. Lily was smart. A teacher at the local elementary school. She had reason, kindness, and this big, quiet dream in her. I saw in her everything I didn't have in myself: gentleness, light, care. Every shift, I wired her money. Every single one. Sometimes I'd skip a hot meal in the mess or stretch a pair of gloves past the breaking point, just so I could send a few extra dollars her way. And I knew she'd put it to good use. Mortgage, groceries, maybe a bit for the garden. We even talked about saving up for a real vacation next spring. We called each other every night, at least until I was too wiped to speak. She'd tell me about her day, which students acted out, what new show she was watching. I'd tell her about the rig. How the new kid almost scalded himself because he turned the wrong valve. How I once found a snake coiled in my boot. We laughed. It felt real. But things started changing. At first, it was small stuff. She'd miss my calls more often. Text things like, sorry, meeting, or in the store, or totally wiped. And I believed her. Teaching's exhausting. Kids, grades, reports. Especially in May, when the year's wrapping up. Then I came home after a 3-week shift. It was hot as hell, and all I wanted was a beer, a shower, and her arms. We hugged. She smiled, but only halfway. You know that look people get when their mouth moves but their eyes don't. That kind of smile. That night I went out for drinks with the guys. Just to loosen up. Me and Ken, an old buddy from the rig, were knocking back Bud Light and laughing about the time I almost set the rig on fire by falling asleep with a lit cigarette in my hand. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "Hey, Chris, look, I don't want to get in your business, but, you know Lily's been going to Abilene a lot, right?" I frowned. Yeah. She's got a friend there, I think. He nodded, slow. Yeah, well, turns out that friend moved to Oklahoma months ago. And someone said they saw her around town with a guy. Local lawyer, I think. Jason something. I laughed. Loud. Almost theatrical. You serious? Lily. With a lawyer? She gets anxiety from guys in gray suits. Besides, we're good. Ken just shrugged. He wasn't pushing. I just figured, better you hear it from me than someone else. I spent the rest of the night trying to shake it off. Sipping beer, staring at my glass. But inside, I didn't feel angry. Or hurt. Just disconnected. Like I couldn't quite believe it. Like my brain refused to open that door. I was working 16-hour days, breaking my back, giving her everything. Every dollar, every year, every ounce of faith I had. And you know what? That was enough for me. Because I believed, no, I knew, she was waiting for me. But maybe, just maybe, she'd stopped waiting. I don't usually listen to bar talk, especially not after 2 beers. But what Ken said that night got under my skin like a splinter under a fingernail. You know Lily's been making a lot of trips to Abilene lately. Someone said she was seen with a guy. Jason, I think. Lawyer. I brushed it off. Even raised my voice, not at him, but at the thought. It was ridiculous. I knew Lily like the back of my calloused hand. She wasn't that type. She couldn't be. But a couple days passed, and I started watching more closely. First thing I noticed, she started answering calls less often. Used to be, she'd pick up no matter what. Now it was, oh, sorry, didn't see it, or, busy in the store, or, my phone died. Each excuse on its own meant nothing. But together? I told myself not to get dramatic. Just, observe. I wasn't some jealous husband or wannabe sleuth. But once suspicion bites, it doesn't let go easy. You just want to get your grip back on reality. She told me she'd been going to visit her old high school friend, Sarah. Nothing unusual about that. Except Sarah had been living in Oklahoma for 3 months. I checked her Instagram, photos with the caption, "New chapter. Tulsa bound." Dozens of comments underneath, "Good luck. Rooting for you." Not one mention of Lily. Not a single shot of them together in recent months. I went back to Lily's page. Everything looked normal. A book on the table. A cup of coffee. A window view. All perfectly curated. Too curated. There wasn't a single candid moment, not one sign of real life. Like someone was managing the account but not living the life. And then the memories started coming back. How she'd started falling asleep with her back to me. How she stopped curling into me in the morning. How the phone was suddenly at the dinner table every night. Lily used to misplace it constantly. Now she kept it close, always face down. And she smiled at her phone. Not just texting, smiled. Quiet, deep smiles. The kind that come from someone who knows you inside out. I'd seen those smiles before, years ago, working rigs up north. At local bars, where visiting wives flirted with bartenders. Back then, I turned my head away. Now, I was watching. On the 5th day, she left her phone on the couch when she went to shower. It lit up. I caught the name, Jay. The message read, "Miss you. Is Wednesday ours again?" My heartbeat landed somewhere in my throat. Wednesday. The day she always claimed she stayed late for staff meetings. I didn't open the message. Didn't touch the phone. I just stood up, walked out to the backyard, and sat in the old patio chair. Watched the wind move through the dry grass near the fence. I felt like I'd been pulled out of my own house and dropped into someone else's life. The air was thick, heavy like the sky before a storm. When she came out of the shower, I was in the kitchen frying eggs. She wrapped her arms around me from behind. "Hey, teddy bear. How are you feeling?" I gave a dry chuckle. Miss the old days. She froze for half a second, then kissed my shoulder and walked off for coffee. Like nothing had happened. But something had. And it had cracked me straight down the middle. I started digging deeper. Went on Facebook, looked through the profiles of our mutual friends. Scrolled comments, tags, old photos. In one of the stories, taken in a local cafe in Abilene, I saw her. Sitting across from a man. Lily. Holding a glass of wine. He had her hand in his. His face was blurry. But the posture, the profile, the way he dressed, this wasn't some random guy. It was him. Jason. I took a screenshot. Not because I wanted to throw it in her face. I just needed confirmation. For myself. On the 8th day of my time off, I went back to the same bar where Ken had told me about her. Sat at the same stool. Ordered a whiskey and Coke. Stared at the bottle's reflection. There I was, burned out, bitter, confused. The guy who worked 16-hour days in 120-degree heat. The guy who skipped meals to save for a house. The guy who still believed love could survive distance. And on the other side of that reflection was her, the woman I thought I knew. I started by just not believing words anymore. Not because I wanted to snoop. It's just, when someone lies to you once, you lose the ability to take things at face value. Even if you want to. Even if you love them. Even if every night you lay next to them praying it was all a misunderstanding. I created a new folder on my laptop. Named it Miscellaneous. So it wouldn't draw attention. Inside were screenshots, notes, dates. I didn't know what I planned to do with any of it. I wasn't building a case. Maybe I just needed to prove to myself I wasn't losing my mind. First thing I checked was her Google Calendar. We'd synced our phones years ago, to plan vacations easier. I figured she'd forgotten. Turns out, she hadn't. There was just nothing in it. No staff meetings. No trips. Only one weird entry, J meeting, scheduled every other Monday. J. Him again. I ran the number for J through this old site the guys at the rig sometimes used to track down car owners. And there he was, Jason W. Baker. Lawyer. Lives and works in Abilene. Divorced. Specializes in civil disputes and divorce law. How's that for irony? I checked his Facebook. Public profile. Loves the outdoors, plays weekend softball, posts photos in suits standing outside his firm. And then I saw it, a photo that hit me like a fist to the chest. He's sitting at a restaurant, glass of red wine in front of him. And in the background, barely in focus, is a woman in a green dress. The green dress. The one I had custom made for Lily for our anniversary. Unique stitching around the collar. You couldn't mistake it. I zoomed in. Her face was blurry, but her hand wasn't. Delicate wrist. A small mole on her thumb. It was her. I didn't know what to do with that photo. Delete it. Pretend I hadn't seen it. I couldn't. I saved it. Labeled it, dinner, August 14th. That same night she'd told me she was driving to Waco to visit her mom. Next step, her friends. I didn't know how many were in on it, but one of them, Jen, overshared like it was her job. I scrolled through her stories from the past month. And there it was, a short, shaky clip, clearly filmed without Lily knowing. Our living room. Evening. Lily sitting on the couch beside a man. They're laughing. She's holding a glass of wine. His hand rests on her shoulder. The phone camera wobbles a bit, like Jen was filming in secret. But the audio came through clearly. And then I heard her say, you know, if he were home more, it might have been different. I stopped the video. And something inside me physically hurt. I didn't sleep that night. Just stared at the ceiling, listening to her breathe next to me. And all I could think was, I'm the traitor. Not Jay. Not even her. Me. Because I already knew. Deep down, I knew. And I kept pretending we could fix it. That it could be forgotten. Forgiven. Rewritten. The next morning, I got up before her. Walked out to the backyard and made myself a strong cup of coffee. Sat in an old wooden chair and waited for the sun to peek over the fence. And I felt nothing. No rage. No heartbreak. Just silence. Black, ringing silence. Like the stillness right before a blowout on the rig. I started noticing how she avoided my eyes. How her answers came slower, like she was rehearsing. How she started going out for walks alone. To the park. Just to clear her head. One time, I followed her. Yeah, I became that guy. The husband tailing his wife like some B-movie detective. I hated myself for it. But I still did it. I watched her get into her car. Pull out of the neighborhood. Take a couple turns. And 15 minutes later, she parked, right outside the office building where Jason worked. She didn't go in. Just sat in the car. Then he came out. Jeans. Button-up shirt. He walked straight to the driver's side. She stepped out. They hugged. Not a quick, see you later, hug. Not like friends. Like people hiding something real. Something important. He kissed her on the forehead. And she laid her head on his shoulder. I drove off before the moment ended. And that's when it finally hit me, it wasn't just the affair. It was the fact that she stopped choosing me. I waited for the end of my shift like a man waiting for his final call. I knew that when I got home, the conversation would happen. No more later, no more what are you talking about. Just the truth. I'd given her a month. A month to come clean. I didn't push. I dropped hints between lines. Looked her in the eyes. Hoping to see something, anything, real. But there was nothing. Just lies, wrapped in comfort, warm tea, and that tired little line, "You're my hero." When I walked through the front door, she was there. Waiting. She looked nervous, just enough to notice. Like she sensed something had shifted in me. People always know when trust has left the room. "How was the shift?" she asked, reaching for my bag. "Long," I said flatly. "Let me eat first. Then we'll talk." She served dinner. Chicken. Again. My favorite recipe. Too perfectly crisped. Too measured. I ate in silence. Not out of anger, but because I knew this would be our last meal in this house. And the taste wouldn't matter. When I set my fork down on the edge of the plate, I saw her tense. Just barely. Like the sound of metal on porcelain was some kind of trigger. I wiped my hands with a towel. Stood up. Walked into the living room. "Come on," I said, without looking at her. She followed, slow steps. Sat on the edge of the couch. Folded her arms. Her fingers started picking at the hem of her sweater. Old habit. Lily always did that when she lied to her mom as a teenager. I'd seen it once before, when her mother called her out for ditching a tutor. Back then, it was childish. Now, it was just sad. "I know about Jason," I said. Silence. She blinked once. Like dust hit her eye. Then again. "What?" "About him. The cafe. The trips to Abilene. The car you waited in. The ring you took off when you were with him." She put both hands over her mouth. Took a deep breath. "Chris, please," I cut her off. "Don't," I said quietly. "Don't say it's not what I think. Don't say it's complicated. Don't say you still love me." She went still. She began, voice trembling, "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just happened. I didn't plan it. I was lonely. You were gone all the time. I tried. I did. At first. But then," her voice cracked. "Then I just gave up." I nodded. Calmly. Almost with understanding. "How long's it been going on?" She looked down. 6 months. Maybe more. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far." I stood. Walked over to the window. Looked out at the neighbor's yard. The dog pulling on its leash. The woman laughing into her phone. Like everything happening inside our home didn't exist for the rest of the world. "I don't know how to fix this," she whispered behind me. "But if we could try. I want to. Really. Please don't go quiet on me." I turned around. Looked at her. Tears in her eyes. Shoulders shaking. Face red and raw. But I didn't feel anger. Or pain. Or betrayal. Just silence. The kind of silence that presses on your ribs. The kind that makes your own heartbeat feel like someone else's. "You used to tell me you loved me," I said, quietly. And I believed it. I loved you even when I didn't feel human. When my hands were cracked and burning from crude, when I fell into the bunk with my boots still on. When I ate cheap noodles in a trailer so I could send you the last of my paycheck. Because I believed, so long as you were okay, it was worth it. I stepped closer. And you? You chose not to be lonely. Not to wait. Not to struggle. You chose to give up. Because you were bored. She started to cry. Not sobbing, just the kind that empties out of you when there's nothing left. I didn't move. Didn't comfort her. Didn't touch her. I'm not angry, Lily. But I'm not stupid either. If I forgive you, I'll hate myself every time you come home late. Every time your phone buzzes. Every time you say you're going out for air. I can't live like that. Not anymore. She buried her face in her hands. I'll fix it. I swear. Please, Chris, please. I said nothing. Chris, just say something, I sighed. I will. You've got until the end of this week. I leave for my next shift Monday morning. When I get back, I don't want you here. The week after that conversation was silence. Not the quiet kind. The sharp kind. The kind that rings in your ears like something's broken. We didn't fight. Didn't yell. She tried to carry on like normal, made dinner, left coffee on the table, played our favorite show on the TV. I said nothing. Just watched her like a photograph, something that used to feel like home, now slightly off color and faded. The house felt like a suitcase with a broken handle. You could carry it. But every step hurt. I kept sleeping in our bed. She moved to the couch, on her own. I didn't ask. Just laid out a blanket and pillow for her, wordless. It was my quiet way of saying, we were done. She tried to talk. A few times. First soft. Then louder. Then through tears. But I didn't answer. Not because I wanted to punish her. But because there was nothing left in me to give. On Friday, I drove her to her mother's place. Suitcase. Overnight bag. Pillow. She didn't say a word the whole ride. At the curb, she finally whispered, I still love you. I put the car in park. Got out. Walked around the front. Popped the trunk. Set her bags on the sidewalk. And said just one thing, take care of yourself. Then I left. Saturday, I stayed in the garage. Went through an old box of tools, sorted my fishing gear, found my dented thermos with the Shell-Strong sticker still peeling off. Kept my hands busy, because it was the only way to keep my head from bursting. That night I filled up the truck. Gas, peanuts, 2 gas station sandwiches. Same routine as always before heading out to the rig. Only this time, it wasn't just work I was driving toward. I was heading somewhere new. Even if it looked like the same dusty road. Sunday morning, I woke up before the sun. Packed my bag. Took my coffee out to the porch and sat on the steps. The sky was starting to lighten. The air smelled like damp grass and clean dirt. The wind was soft, almost new. I just sat there, breathing, feeling the weight of the past start to lift. Not fast. Not violently. Just, drifting away. I thought about our first kiss. How nervous she was, scared someone might see. How she laughed when I bought her cheap bracelets at the county fair. How I held her hand in the hospital when her dad was dying. How she cried into my chest, and I didn't let go. I didn't let myself hate her. That would have been too easy. I left at 6:10 a.m. Didn't look back. Didn't turn off the light in the bedroom. Didn't take down the sticky note on the fridge that read, "You're my hero." Let it stay. A reminder of who I'd been. The drive to the rig took 4.5 hours. I played the old playlists we used to ride around to. There was one song she always sang along to, Arm Out the Window, like she was flying. I remember thinking back then, if heaven exists, it probably looks like this. Now she was somewhere between the woman I knew and the stranger she became. And me. I just drove. On site, I didn't talk much. The guys didn't ask questions. They could tell, just by the look in my eyes. Ken said one thing one night, while we were fixing a jammed valve. If you need anything. I got you. I nodded. That was enough. 3 days in, Lily texted me. I filed for divorce. I'm not going to ask for forgiveness. Thank you for not breaking me. Thank you for leaving with honor. I hope you find love. The real kind. The kind you deserve. I read the message a few times. Then turned off the screen. No reply. A month passed. Then 2. One day, on my way home, I stopped at a gas station. Inside, by the front cooler, I saw a little girl, maybe 7, holding an ice cream cone, looking lost. I walked up, knelt down. You lost, sweetheart. She nodded. Wide eyes. A moment later, her mom came rushing over with a cart. Breathless. Thanked me. Then paused. Do you work at Brown Ridge? Yeah, I said. My brother worked there. Said there was a guy once, saved his fingers during a pressure line break. That you? I nodded. She smiled. You probably don't remember, but you bought him gloves after that. He still has them. I just smiled. Well, take care, she said. Anne, hang in there. You look like you're holding it together a little too well. When I got home, I set my bag down by the door. Sat at the kitchen table. There was a cup there. Empty. No coffee. Just like the house. I poured a glass of water. Slowly. Looked at my reflection in the window. Tired. A little older. But whole. And that's when I realized, I didn't lose. I survived. Because I stayed true to myself. Even when the world came apart at the seams. I never asked for love. I just wanted it to be real.